Welcome back, graphic packaging buyers. This is Module 6 of our Procure to Pay web training series. In this module, we're going to discuss purchase orders and contracts at graphic packaging. Let's start off in this introduction by defining what they are, what the difference is between a purchase order and contract, why we care, and why they're so important. In the real world, a purchase order and a contract really are the same thing. But at graphic packaging, we put a fine line in between the two. Both of them set up the rules of engagement. They're the rules of the game. We're going to buy and sell products and services, and we need to know who's responsible for what, who's doing what, and then most importantly, if something goes wrong, who takes care of it. At graphic packaging, the purchase order is the actual SAP form that you're completing, and the terms and conditions, also referred to as T's and C's, is the document that prints out behind it. It's all that fine print that nobody likes to read. The contract, on the other hand, is a standalone document that requires signatures and most often is going to be a base document of the vendor. It's going to be something the vendor gives you that they want us to sign. But again, they both follow the same approval process and they both serve the same function. You're just going to hear them called two different things. With me so far? Awesome. Now that we've established that, why are these important and why is the review and approval process important? After all, why can't you just call your vendor or email him and tell him the work you want done? He gives you a price, he comes out, he does it, you pay him, bada bing, bada boom, you're done, right? Not quite. If you don't follow the process that we are about to establish, there are some real world consequences to that. I'm going to give you a couple of examples that actually happened. Both of these actually happened here at Graphic. So the first one is the purchase order. As you know from your training up till now, before you can issue a purchase order, you have to get the vendor into the vendor master in SAP. And there's a little bit of a time process involved with that. We had a site that really wanted to get some work done and they didn't want to have to wait for that. So they decided to go ahead and have the vendor start the work with the understanding that they would issue the purchase order as soon as they were able and eventually it would get done. Okay? What was the work? The vendor offered to treat a set of dies that we used in the machines the treatment would lengthen the life of the dies. They quoted a price of $300 each to do this. The site thought this was great and they sent off their set of 20 dies to the vendor for him to get started while they worked on getting him into SAP to issue the purchase order. Vendor starts work. About halfway through the work, the purchase order gets issued and the vendor freaks out when he gets the purchase order, and this is where we find the problem. And the problem was the word each. For the vendor, when he quoted $300 each, he meant each die in the set, and there were 20 of them. So he was expecting a purchase order for $6,000. The site, however, sees the set of dies as a set. You never separate them, you never use them separately, so they're always together, and it's a set, and you quoted me $300, so it should be $300 for these. The vendor now has our property, he's already started the work, he's completed most of the work before the purchase order comes out, so we now have a difference of $300 and $6,000. Now that's a small example in pricing compared to, the grand scheme of graphic packaging. But if you're the one who issues the purchase order and tells your boss that it's going to cost $300 and you get a bill for $6,000, I'm thinking it's not going to feel so small at that point, right? Okay, so that's a reason we want to get this done up front. Another example, using a contract. Why does the contract have to go through legal review? I mean, you're all adults, you can read it and understand it and know what you're buying, and what's the big deal, right? Well, we had another instance where it was an event agreement and there was a line that said that the person who signed it was personally responsible for any damages or any bills that occurred, not the company. So if you sign it, then they'll come after your house, not after graphic packaging. Okay, so you want us to see these things, you want us to review this, and this is all going to be ultimately to protect you. I know it can be frustrating, but hang in there with me. We're going to go through the process, and I'm going to show you how to get through it really fast and easy. Talk to you soon.